Okay, here's another League of Legends game coming your way, this time with Jinx 80 carry. I'm recording this post-commentary for you guys. It was a considerably long game, as you can see from the clock. Lots of things happen, and I definitely like the ending, even though the ults in this video are going to kind of suck. Anyway, lane matchups. We have Brand mid against Ziggs, Teemo top against Ryze. I'm Jinx, partnered with Thresh, bot against Morgana and Tristana. And we have Pantheon in the jungle against Hecarim. So, a few things to talk about. I don't remember how many months it's actually been since I put up a Jinx game. I was considering playing Ashe for this one, but I decided to mix things up a bit. I probably play Ashe a bit too much, so we have Jinx instead. Jinx is still pretty solid and everything, it's just, I really do like the crystal arrow for starting and ending fights. Plus, it's nice to have 600 range from the start. But as for this game, I can already tell you the bot lane, the way this is actually... Well, I'll explain the mechanics after I explain how Jinx works. Your passive is Get Excited. Whenever you get a kill or an assist or you take part in destroying a building, you get a surge of movement speed. I'm going to mouse over everything for a few seconds for you. Rapidly decays over time. Pause if you want to read it, otherwise I'll just keep explaining it. Q is Switcheroo. You switch back and forth between your weapons, Pow Pow the minigun, and Fishbones the rocket launcher. Pow Pow gets a attack speed buff as you fire more, and the magnitude increases as you rank up the move. Fishbones, on the other hand... Damn, it was just there. I think he has like a 120% damage modifier, and it has increased range, and the rockets are AoE. Downside, of course, is that rockets are 20 mana per shot, and they are lower than normal attack speed, I believe. W is Zap, long-range linear skill shot. It's your taser type move. So you zap someone, reveals them if they aren't stealthed, and it slows them. I believe if you do zap someone before they stealth, they will still be revealed, it's just not after the fact, you have to do it beforehand. E is Flame Chompers. You throw your 3 little grenades on the ground, after a half second they prime, if enemies step on it they get rooted in place and take some damage. As for this, Thresh is being way too aggressive early, and he really does pay for it. And your ult is Super Mega Death Rocket. Another global type ultimates like Enchanted Crystal Arrow, True Shot Barrage. It's a skill shot, you have to aim it. Sadly, Jinx's does not pass through stuff like Ezreal's True Shot Barrages and characters. The rocket blows itself up on the first enemy hit just like the Crystal Arrow does. Anyway, as for the lane matchup at hand. If you're aware of how Thresh works, this is a pretty bad lane for him because Trist is going to be able to poke him down from range as she gets more and more levels because of her passive, and Morgana just innately has an advantage against him because she has range, she has snare to get him, and her snare should outrange his death sentence, I believe, so she can Black Shield to actually negate the death sentence, root him in place, and yeah. So we are actually going to be at a disadvantage early, and you'll see that come back to bite us, but the lane is still very much salvageable. Most people these days, I don't actually think, know how to play Thresh. They see other people play it pretty well, especially in actual 5v5s, where Thresh is very, very solid in that case. So right here I made the mistake of switching to Fishbones because I wasn't anticipating the exhaust. And as a result, she's going to live, and if you look, I fire the rocket, but not enough to kill her before I go down. So Triss limps away, and we're going to lose Thresh in a second. But the main problem for this game is going to be the top lane. Our top laner blind picked Teemo for some reason, and that's a horrible, horrible idea, because then you end up in matches like Ryze. I have played Ryze once since the Pre-Season 5 update. He feels considerably weaker due to the changes to Tear of the Goddess. He's still probably pretty good against melees. I need to play him more than just one game. It's just for some of the changes I did a lot of games off camera to try to figure out what all has changed, how much, and stuff like that, so that once recording time does come around, I actually can give more accurate information. And right here is where my last chain finally starts to go down the tubes. If you notice, I was doing really good at the very beginning, but this is going to start turning into a kill lane in a moment, so hopefully the team fights make up for the lack of proper CSing. But going back to the Teemo, he's going to be the main liability of this game. On the other hand, we have Pantheon, so an early dragon is on the table. It's just whether or not he knows how to do it. From my impression, he doesn't. The dragon is supposed to be getting changed in the near future. I think his breath attack is going to be like a multiple hit move so that Pantheon can't block out the whole thing. Not really sure. None of the details are concrete. It's just speculation and some clues that the devs dropped. Anyway, as for the lane at hand, you'll notice I picked up a second longsword for the extra 10 AD. The reason for that is that the Zap actually has a 1-to-1 AD ratio, if I remember correctly. So that is going to add in the damage on my poke, and I can try to trade with Morgana from range, or even try to poke Trist while she's trying to last hit under tower. Well, I could use Fishbones. The thing is, the range isn't quite there. The move is only rank 2. Once I do get a couple of ranks in the move, and ideally some items to actually make the rockets hurt, then it becomes a very viable strategy, and actually the preferred route, since the rockets are cheaper than the Zap. Of course, you don't get the slow. That's the downside. And Thresh gets the hook. Sadly, my Zap got blocked by the creep. Morgana black shielded the Flame Chompers, and right here is where we're going to start to turn things around. So, sadly, I'm not going to be able to get Morgana since Thresh kept hitting her, but I got excited, Thresh kept on the chase, and Morgana is more focused on hitting me than the Thresh and minions that are actually wailing on her. So there's Zap, there's Fishbones, and now we have our first kill of the lane. So, tunnel vision, plus I'm pretty sure Trist burned everything trying to get me, or at least up to this point, the heal, the flash, the rocket jump. And as long as she didn't get a kill, that thing did not reset, and she was kind of stuck anyway, so all in all, it's not really a bad move on her part, it's just try to avoid getting in that situation in the first place. If the Thresh is maxing his E, then yes, he is a force to be reckoned with in this lane, since the Flay passive is going to really add up, especially as he starts getting more and more souls. As for this, Thresh went back. I don't have enough for my BF sword just yet, but I can get the Vamp Scepter so that I can sustain through the lane. It's part of the reason why I like starting with the longsword, since I can go straight into Vamp Scepter and then my full build. And I went ahead and grabbed boots so that I can better dodge the Dark Bindings. Because whether or not I get hit by those are what's going to determine whether or not this lane is hell or heaven. And if you're wondering, okay, for my regular subs, this time I'm going to ask you for a comment. Does it really bother you if I give, like, spoilers of things to come in the videos, like, around this point? Like, what's actually going to happen in this lane to further complicate things? Because, as you can see, Trist is getting beat down. The Black Shield was dropped, but sadly the Dark Binding made sure that I couldn't drop the Flame Chompers in time. But we still get to deal some poke to Morg, the Death Sentence lands, and Zap for the win. So, I'm pretty sure some of you may have actually guessed what's going to happen here, because we haven't actually seen the junglers. And sadly, with top lane getting kind of smashed by Ryze, the Hecarim doesn't really have much to do in the top lane. As for the mid lane, the Brand leaves some things to be desired, so I assume Hecarim probably realized that's low potential as well. But here is Ziggs. And I believe Hecarim is in the Tri-Brush. And the Knight does kill me, so I don't bother trying to waste the flash. And sadly, the Mega Inferno Bomb is going to seal Thresh's fate. So if you notice right here, Brand wasn't actually like pushing the lane or anything at the time. Ziggs was able to walk down without any sort of consequence. And that's pretty much what the rest of the game is going to look like. Since I mentioned there isn't much presence in the top lane, Ryze is free to come and go as he pleases, Hecarim doesn't have anywhere else to show up, and since we're actually kind of crushing our opponents, this is the only place for him to arrive. So right there you can see the numbers. We don't actually have the first dragon yet. Pantheon should have been able to do it already, it's just for one reason or another he didn't.
An enemy has been slain.
Anyway, Brand goes ahead and picks up Hecarim. That's pretty good because it's going to set Hecarim back. Since Hecarim is so item dependent, the kills actually hurt him a lot worse than some of your other junglers like, say, Nunu. The guys who actually have their most important stuff built into their movesets. But now I have the BF sword, so all my attacks are going to hurt all the more. The Zap, the Fishbone Rockets, and sadly, the Zap whiffed. But you can see that Trist actually can't take too much harass from me. And to make things worse, Morgana is not a sustained support, so the poke really can add up, and it can add up kind of quick. As for Morg right here, she goes ahead and ults, Thresh death sentences her closer to me, and here is Hecarim. So the exhaust is dropped, and I'm pretty much screwed at that point. The good news is, Pantheon is able to pick up the kill on Morg. Trist goes in, but Brand, I believe, is lagging behind. And the stun does not go off. So Hecarim gets to scoop in the kill, swoop out, and no, Trist gets away. Brand shows up, but he throws his Pyroclasm really early, and Hecarim probably should have survived that, but oh well. And I fired the rocket, but sadly it was a little too slow, which I attest to part of the fact that I haven't played Jinx in many months. So right here I'm looking at the turret health, trying to figure out, can we take this while they're away, or what? But Pantheon is making his move on the Dragon Pit. He took his sweet time, of course, and he should still be able to solo that. I don't remember if I show up. Yeah, I do show up to help him. So, right here you're going to see some stuff play out, like Pantheon has been discovered, and the solo dragon does not work when he has to try to withstand some harass. So there's Brand. I go ahead and try to zone Morgana. I forced Tristana to jump the wall, and while I didn't get the assist, we still got a kill on Pantheon. Meanwhile, I'm free to farm this up, and I don't remember the CS numbers offhand, but I should have a considerable lead over Trist. It's pretty hard for her to last hit on her tower with her E passive, and I think she's rushing Blade the Rune King, so she has even less AD there. It's not a fun lane to be the Yordle. But with the first dragon, we now have the 8% AD and AP mod, so I'm actually getting even more from the BF sword. Let's see, it gives you 50, so I should be getting something like 4 extra AD. While that may not seem like much, it's still an extra 4 damage on my attacks. It's going to help with the last hitting. And since I'm all about poking them with my rockets and my zap, the extra 4 will add up in time. And of course, that's just with the BF sword, of course. I'm also getting an extra 1 from the Vamp Scepter and 1 from the other longsword. If you're wondering about the other longsword, that is eventually going to become the last Whisper. I go ahead and get the longsword early sometimes because it's a cheap source of 10 AD. Can easily help you last hit a little bit more effectively than just saving your money for the pickaxe or something along those lines. And worst come to worst, since it's a cheap item, I could sell it. It's just depending on your build order, you may not need to. I am going to be rushing the Infinity Edge first, and once you get the IE, you usually want to get the Zeal second, whether or not you finish the Zeal immediately into like the Phantom Dancer, the Shiv, or even Trinity. Should depend on the match at hand. For this one, I don't actually need to upgrade it right off the bat. I usually want to get Phantom Dancer on Jinx because your Fishbones will allow you to wave clear, so by getting the Phantom Dancer you have more attack speed for the wave clear, rather than just the extra 100 to 250 damage from the Shiv. And the... let's see, Fishbones is 120, and since he can crit, that means he goes up to 240 and then 300%. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's a 300% damage mod, but right here Hecarim shows up once again, and it's just the other lanes aren't doing too well, so he doesn't have anywhere else to go. On the other hand, the exhaust comes down, so we get to kill Tristana. She ends up giving me the assist, and as for him, I did damage him somewhere along the way, so I got the assist off of him too. So while they did get a double kill, we still got the assist gold, and it's just their support that's up. The AD carry on their side is not doing too well. But I can go ahead and get the pickaxe for even more AD, which then again ties into the dragon buff. And what the hell is Teemo doing down here? I don't know if I noticed him when I was actually recording this, but as for Morgana, she wants to go for the suicide and she eats a zap instead. So I get the kill instead of the execute, and, well, it's just one more notch in my belt. So I get to snowball a little bit further along. Not to mention the get excited allow me to get back into lane more quickly. So, Tristana's back in lane. I have Thresh behind me, but she doesn't have Morgana, so I can try to take advantage of her right here and just punish her, but sadly I'm not fast enough to actually catch up to her to actually get a Fishbone's rocket off. But I can just go ahead and push this in some.
Executed.
Next best thing to actually harassing her is just flat out deny her the CS, but of course the tower was low. And since we are now going further and further into their territory, what's that? I don't know if that was Shirelia's or not. Well, stupid tower shield. And as for here, I think I did get Morgana, but I died to Hecarim. Thresh went in for some reason, I don't know, but you can see Zig showed up, and once again we have 4 bot, and really no one's in position to take advantage of this. Meanwhile, Teemo is still getting eaten alive for all intents and purposes. But the good news is, after all that, I am pretty close to my Infinity Edge, so I will have my first completed item once I go back into lane, and of course, it's one that's going to allow me to hit pretty hard. So, I think this is where I take my first long-range shot. I'm thinking that Tristana was in the brush, but as of pre-season 5, she actually would have reason to sit under the turrets and give her the 300 hit points to help her withstand that. Since I didn't get the tower shield down, it wouldn't still give it to her. Had I gotten that down before I went down, then of course, yeah, that would have been the best possible spot to shoot. But anyway, we can get in position for the dragon. Pantheon pretty much has the area secured, and since we have the enemy so far back, they can't actually come out to the river too easily to actually take that territory.
Rampage.
So it's good news that the bot is doing okay. I wouldn't say we're winning just yet, but we're doing better than their bot, if nothing else. There's Morgana. And since I'm using scaling MR, I actually am high enough for it to be higher than the flat. It's just Morgana is using magic pen, I think, so it's not quite enough. So the zap doesn't actually destroy the black shield, it's physical damage. So the slow does not get applied, but on the trade-off nothing gets mitigated, so no help for her there. As for this, Pantheon goes ahead and takes the dragon. I have to flash the wall to get away from Hecarim, and I have reinforcements right here so that I can make my escape. Go ahead and hop in the scuttle area zone to just get the speed up and get out, because Ziggs does have Mega Inferno Bomb. I don't quite know where the Yordle is, and well, over the course of the game I intend to teach him what a global ult actually is. Hint, it's not his. But I'm healed up, and Ryze is pushing in, so I have to make my next visit to the top lane. And you can see that Ryze has pretty much just single-handedly crushed Teemo. Right here I have the turret shield to help me withstand some of his poke, which is going to come in handy right there, because otherwise I probably would have been dead by now. I go ahead and fire the ult, but it's not quite enough. He flashes, and if you look in the tri-brush, there's a Teemo shroom there that's actually giving me vision. So right here he decides to not recall, and surprise, Teemo's revenge.
You have slain an enemy.
So if you're wondering why Thresh got an assist too, he shielded Teemo somewhere along the way, so when Teemo got the assist off the shroom, that's how Thresh got it, and it helps Teemo somewhat, but the neat thing is I believe that was a shutdown on him.
Double kill. Shut down.
But I can go ahead and start sieging the top lane. Sadly, Ryze does have teleport, so I'm not going to be able to take this. Once he ports in, I have to get out because I don't have the shield. I don't want to eat the minion fire because I didn't know if there was a ward behind me, so he might teleport there instead of the tower. I had to play it safe, and once he shows himself teleporting to the tower, I take off. With the dragon secure, it's not like there are any other objectives on the map for us to grab at the moment, so I can go ahead and recall, pick up my zeal. Meanwhile, the score is actually pretty close for the moment. And I'd say most of that is just due to Teemo. Pantheon goes ahead and does his Skyfall, but Ziggs hops off, so... well, he got the CS, if nothing else. As for the mid, the outer's already gone, so I just have to last hit these, get the gold, and potentially create pressure for us to do something somewhere else, ideally top lane, so that we can try to deal with Ryze. Once he gets his Frozen Heart, he will be a bit of a nuisance to me, but I will have the attack speed buff from Pow Pow to offset that to a certain degree. So we now have Brand here. And I do need to go bot since they are pushing it. I won't be able to kill them since there's two of them and only one of me, but Teemo got a kill on Ryze, go figure. I'm going to take the credit for that, giving him the assist by steering Ryze into that shroom. And yeah, not really. I'm assuming Ryze messed up somewhere along the way, or there was a lot of Thresh CC or something. Maybe he blew all of his cooldowns on Thresh. I can go ahead and clear all that with Pow Pow. I don't... well, Morgana's showing mid, so I can go ahead and go on Trist. So right here, she's gonna ult, I pop my heal, and I shoot her out of the sky. I didn't see if she had her completed Blade of the Rune King, but Pow Pow with the Infinity Edge means the opponent is not going to last long. And as for this, I don't think I can actually get anything from behind. So I decided to go ahead and try to push this into the tower, see if I can get some extra damage on the inner, which may come back to help us later. Gain damage on the bottom lane is pretty handy, because that's the furthest distance from the Baron. Ryze shows up. I don't know if he ported in or what, but all in all, there's not really much I can do since he's somewhat fed, and I don't have any MR items yet. I will admit MR itemization kind of sucks since they took the Negatron cloak out, and still waiting on that to be put back in. Meanwhile, right here I have enough to pick up another BF sword for the lifesteal item. It's just I'd have to sell something, or I could finish the Phantom Dancer. It's just I'd rather get more AD at the moment, or potentially save up for the last Whisper if I have to get it right off the bat. So Ryze doesn't actually have his Glacial Shroud, if I remember correctly. I think he just had the Rod of Ages and Archangels. So that does mean I have more time to go for more AD before I have to start stacking pen, and okay, the outer wasn't actually down, was it? Okay, maybe this lane was doing better than I realized. Especially relatively speaking. So I can go ahead and pick those up. All in all, I'm trying to get enough money here to finish my Bloodthirster, which is probably the best item I can get since it's going to allow me to trade with Ryze somewhat. Shield is additional health, artificial health as you know. So if I can get some MR item, Banshee Veil or Negatron, or not Negatron, Quicksilver Sash, that would be the ideal route. The ideal part about the Quicksilver Sash is that I can cleanse the Rune Prison to continue moving around against him. But the Banshee also means he has to sacrifice one of his spells to start the fight in the first place. But Dragon's coming up. We can go ahead and pick this one up, and the third one will give us movement speed, which will help me try to create distance between Ryze and myself. It's also going to help a little bit with positioning against Ziggs and even Hecarim to a certain degree. It's just Hecarim is... well, he has his speed up on his E, so yeah. As for this, there is a little bit of a blind spot for them to sneak into that brush, which is why I fired the zap into it. Of course, they wouldn't necessarily know about that, so there's a chance we could have picked them up with that shroom in the brush, but playing it safe, since this still can't swing either way. But Morgana eats the Teemo Shroom. I drop the Flame Chompers here to make sure that they stay out, and I can go ahead and just damage the shield so that Ziggs will lose his shield for staying under the turret. Meanwhile, Teemo gives up yet another kill. Hecarim eats the zap, so I'm wondering if he's thinking there might be some sort of ward there or something. Hopefully we got him to burn his sweeper if he has one. But as for this, Brand and I actually have quite a bit of wave clear, so we're pretty safe here. I can just go ahead and use Fishbones, and then he can follow up with one of his moves if need be. Or I can just go ahead and take all of them. Up to Brand. So I missed the brush there, sadly, but I was using the zap to try to scout if anyone was there, figure out who exactly, and stuff like that. But I do manage to land the poke on Ziggs that forces his flash, and still enough for Pantheon to run in there. Brand gets the shutdown, which is okay. As long as everything is not focused on me, there isn't as much incentive for the enemy to actually focus me. So spraying out our gold does have its advantages, even though it means I will have delayed spikes. And you can see the turret shield has regenerated. Trist has the full 300 hit points. And Brand actually had no trouble taking that down whatsoever. So Flame Chompers lost to create some distance from Morg, but once the Dark Binding fell off, it's not like she posed much more of a threat. Sure, she could use Soul Shackles, but I don't think she has the Hourglass yet, so Brand and I could easily kill her if she tried. Right here I'm looking at the items to try to figure out which way I need to go, and I opt for the Bloodthirster because it's also a defensive item of sorts because the shield artificial hit points. Plus I didn't really see a lot of armor on the enemy team just yet, so the Last Whisper wouldn't be as efficient, but it's going to be a good pickup for my next item. Meanwhile, they used a lot on Teemo there, and does he go down? I don't remember. Looks like he actually gets away, but nope, Mega Inferno Bomb. So Brand goes down, Thresh runs into the pit. Sadly, I can't pull him over, but he has his flash. So they can finally clear out that pink ward, they're getting some vision back in the area. And we are outnumbered here, so we do have to be a little careful. So right there you got to see the Q got completely negated by the Bloodthirster. And as for what's going on in the pit, we lost Pantheon. I don't really know why he was there. Since we were outnumbered, we shouldn't have tried to pick a fight. We should have just tried to poke, stall, etc. Now that I think about it, it's been a while since I actually built the Bloodthirster on one of the characters that I've uploaded, so I get to see that for first time in who knows how long. But Morgana's pushing, so I can go ahead and clear this up, and the gold is going to be more effective on me than on her, so I don't really know why she was pushing. Maybe she didn't know I was here, or what. Still, it's a couple extra hundred, so I'm that much closer to my Last Whisper. Since I have the longsword, it's 1940, I think, to pick it up, so I still need about 1,000 more gold. I'm not even halfway there. Anyway, Brand whiffed his Seer, so Ryze gets to walk away until the death sentence lands. I go ahead and zap him to pick up the assist, get some extra damage in, and ends up giving Thresh the kill. So, after who knows how long, we can finally finish this tower off. And I'm okay to tank a single shot because I have the Bloodthirster shield. I am using scaling armor, so as I get higher level, I will actually be able to tank probably 2 shots with the Bloodthirster before I actually start losing health. But sieging here is going to be tricky because Ziggs is freaking annoying. Not to mention there's Morgana's Tormented Soil to even further chip away at the minions. Plus Tristana's, I forgot what the E is called right now, but the passive on that. So yeah, sieging is not going to be easy for us. To make things worse, Teemo is so far behind he can't actually split push either. So we actually need to win some sort of team fight or just continue securing objectives. And you can probably guess how this is ultimately going to play out, I assume, if you look at the dragon buff. So we already have 3, and if you look, there's still 18 minutes left in the game. So if you're wondering, yes, this will be the first game I've uploaded with the level 5 dragon buff. But we had some sort of skirmish occur up top, don't really know why. But, yeah, we aren't... Teemo's just too far behind. There's no really other way to put that. But the good news is, with everyone else out of the way, I can go ahead and solo this. With Pow Pow's attack speed, all of my AD items, and the Zeal, I can just pretty much take this thing down quickly and safely. So he eventually does pop my shield. But you can see I'm still, well, I'm back at full health after I shoot the Rift Crab thing a little bit. But the 4th point gives us additional structure damage, so we can deal more damage to towers and potentially break up sieges. As for Ziggs, ideally I wanted to kill him, it's just he had his flash, he had Rise, I had Mega Death Rocket. And down goes the Yordle. Meanwhile, the Seer whiffs again, but I also missed the Zap. Sadly, the Seer was more important. But it's not really the end of the world, with Ziggs having to leave and... well, Ziggs dying, I should say. And right here, I'm seen in the back line, I get to pick off Morgana. I get to keep her at bay while everyone else wins the fight. So I didn't get to take part in the assists on Hecarim or Rise, but we still aced them, and now I can go ahead and lay into the turret. So you get to see the level 4 dragon buff come into play right here as this sucker melts. I think it's a 15% damage boost, then you just factor in Jinx being the single best person at taking towers next to Jax, and even then I'd say she probably is better. So we get to take the tower, Pantheon ends up dying to the Mega Inferno Bomb, and I get to take the inhibitor and scoot on out. To punish Ziggs a little bit more, I go ahead and take his blue buff. This is going to limit his harass to a certain degree. I don't actually know how the Season 5 changes have affected him, but playing it safe, I also get to steal the frog to really stick it to Hecarim. As for Rise, you can probably guess what's about to happen to our mage's friend. So he flashed, Flame Chompers, surprise. And right here you can see how important that Bloodthirster is. Even with the shield, he took out half my health. Thresh gets the kill, sadly, but key thing is Rise died. It's going to slow down his growth. And I get to go back and pick up my last Whisper. And I'm sitting on quite a bit of money. So right here I think I stuck to the potions because I wasn't sure what I wanted for my MR item just yet. If I wanted to go the Quicksilver Sash so I can actually get out of the Rune Prison or the Dark Binding, or if I wanted to go for the Banshee's Veil to just negate a spell. All that is still kind of undecided, and due to the way the game is starting to go, I'm not really in any rush to make the call. So, Flame Chompers, one Yordle down, and Pantheon toyed with him a bit while probably waiting for the Aegis to come off cooldown. But he goes down, I get yet another assist, and the pony gets zapped. So here comes the Spartan on his Moby boots, and down goes the pony. Sadly, we don't actually have a minion wave here to actually go on the Nexus turrets. I think we can still take one of them. It's not really ideal at the moment. I don't remember how the death timers are changed, if they only start ramping up now, or if they actually start ramping up really slowly at the 25-minute mark. But usually once you're past the 30-minute mark, then it's ideal sieging time. So, Flame Chompers, right there. Rise had to sacrifice one of his spells to pop the Banshee Veil. And the two of us had to separate here to pull his spell flux away, otherwise he probably could have killed us. And if you think that actually isn't too significant, I have a Rise video on the channel already where you get to see me nuke down a Lucian with that move. So don't underestimate that once his ult is up. Especially once his ult is up. So right here I took a guess. You can see I missed. I don't really think there's actually anyone for me to execute there, so the rocket really wasn't that significant. But we can go ahead and try to take the bottom inhibitor turret. And once again, since we have the level 4 dragon buff, this goes down even faster than normal. Now again, Inferno Bomb comes in, but it doesn't matter, it's too late. And you can see the enemy team is in their base. I didn't want to stick around, especially since I'm about 1/3 health. I can go ahead and pick up the Phantom Dancer now. And right here's when I decide I'm probably best off going Banshee. It is going to help with Hecarim as well, since I can block one of his spells. I can also block something from Trist, for example. All in all, I could go either way. The nice thing about the Quicksilver Sash, of course, that goes into the Scimitar, so that's even more power for my character. It's just, I also do get regen from the Banshee Veil. Like I said, either way can work for this. But right there I was looking at the dragon buff, because I don't think I've actually gotten the level 5 one before, so I don't know all the specifics of it, but it appears we do additional true damage on a hit. So, all in all, that should be especially nasty on Jinx. As for Morg here, she's just in a bad place. She goes down. Without their support, we can go ahead and just take the dragon. They kind of need her for disengage potential. And we are a bit early, but the area is secure. The team's holding everyone else at bay. And there's the dragon, so it's time for the level 5 buff. And if you look at the time, you can see that this is winding down, so we're going to come to the exciting part in a moment. Pantheon is able to tank that for me. Brand picks off Rise, Teemo gets Trist, and Ziggs. And the inhibitors are now back up, so we need to do something about that. And you also have that little neat Kaioken effect going on when you get the level 5 dragon buff that I wasn't aware of before this. So, 2 inhibitors down, we'll be getting the super minions from 2 lanes, and with the 1 cannon minion, that's pretty much all we really need. Right there you can see that I was willing to eat a little bit of the tower laser, just to deal some damage to it. And I get to zap the pony, and the tower is going to melt. Level 5 also doubles the effect, so it's 30% extra damage instead of just 15. And now that I'm excited, I get to lay into the pony. Morgana does use her ult by flame chopper her, so when she gets out of it, she's a sitting duck. And Tristana's fishing for the resets, but she goes down, now it's just me and Rise. And with the red buff, it's not going to end well for Ziggs either. So triple kill, and I get to use the level 5 dragon buff to end the game. So, all in all, I hope this was an entertaining game for you guys. Got to see Jinx after who knows how long. But as you know, thoughts and observations in the description. I'm the Hero of Light. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.